2020 hopefuls Michael Bennet, Andrew Yang, and Deval Patrick are calling it quits after poor showings in New Hampshire. But there's one Democrat who is refusing to quit, refusing, as she said, to be erased by the party establishment.
Tulsi Gabbard is obviously not putting points on the board anywhere.
It's never good when Kornacki has to scroll up to find you parked next to Tulsi Gabbard.
So some unusual candidates, we'll say like an Andrew Yang or Tulsi Gabbard, if they come in, 1-2%, I think they're going to have a really tough case to justify staying in the race.
Well, she actually received 3% in New Hampshire, beating that last pundit's hurdle. Well, here to respond is 2020 Democrat candidate Tulsi Gabbard herself. Congresswoman, great to see you tonight. Now, you hear the comments from all corners in the media, but you're still barnstorming through South Carolina tonight. You have town halls scheduled before the South Carolina primary. So why are you staying in?
It's interesting to hear those comments coming from members of the corporate media who have very literally conducted a almost total corporate media blackout of my campaign, making it very difficult for voters to be able to hear my message, to hear about the experience that I bring, to be able to serve them as commander-in-chief. We see, for example, how Pete Buttigieg, he's had 11 national televised town halls. Throughout the course of this campaign, I've had one since this campaign has begun, and it certainly hasn't been for lack of asking for those opportunities. So it's been difficult for voters to be able to hear my message and to be able to get that kind of exposure. But nonetheless, we are continuing on because of the importance of this sea change in our foreign policy that we need to see in this country, and bring the experience that I have of serving as a soldier for almost 17 years, deployed
Pete
twice
Buttigieg,
to the Middle
hold
East,
on,
as
Congresswoman.
well as my service in Congress.
Right, but Pete Buttigieg, he served in uniform, and he ran a decent-sized town. So why isn't that enough?
As I said on the debate stage, I respect Pete for his service. My service is far more expansive, and I deployed to Iraq during the height of the war in 2005. I deployed again a couple of years later to the Middle East, and continue to serve now for almost 17 years. But military service alone is not enough. Combining that experience with that service in Congress now over 7 years, focused on our nation's security and foreign policy, on the Foreign Affairs, Armed Services, and Homeland Security committees, provides me with that unique experience, prepared to walk in on day one to fulfill that responsibility as Commander-in-Chief.
Why Pete Buttigieg? What is it?
That's a great question. But I think it points to the issue behind that question that you're raising, is that when you look at how many in the corporate media pick and choose their winners and losers, who they want their viewers to learn more about, and frankly, others whom they want to smear, whose campaigns they want to undermine. This is exactly what we've been going through. And really, it's because I don't march to the beat of anybody else's drum. I am an independent thinker, and I make my decisions on policy, on legislation, and the focus of my campaign based on what is in the best interest of the country.
But what do you say about the Democrat Party's leadership as you've described your own process in this?
Well, it's increasingly becoming more and more clear to Democratic voters, those who are coming out and voting in this presidential primary, that there has been a clear failure of leadership in the DNC, which is why I've called for Tom Perez to resign. You can look to what's happened in Iowa, how Iowa voters were really screwed out of making sure that their voices were heard. They took that time to go in and cast their votes, only to have to deal with the debacle one after the other. Tom Perez failing to take responsibility for that. You mentioned Michael Bloomberg, the DNC holding their own pre-primary process, deciding which candidates they want voters to hear from, and then changing the rules for a billionaire Michael Bloomberg to come in and take the debate stage.
Is there room?
One example after another, how the DNC really needs to be in touch with what our primary voters are looking for, a fair, transparent process where they are the ones who get to make this decision.
Congresswoman, the other night, other morning, I guess, Buttigieg said that basically there's no room in the Democrat Party. It's not the right place for pro-life Democrats. You danced your own songs in the Democrat Party on foreign policy and other issues. Do you agree with him on that issue, that you should start excluding people on the basis of what they believe on protecting the unborn?
I don't agree with that position. The Democratic Party has traditionally been the open tent party that is inclusive of people who have different views on different issues. And I disagree with the statement that he and others have made that the Democratic Party should start excluding others. I hold my own views on this position. I believe Roe v. Wade should be upheld and put into law. I think that a woman's right to choose must be preserved. My own choice may be different from another woman, but I'm not going to be in a position to dictate what her choice should be. However, I think there should be some restrictions in the third trimester, that abortion should only be an option if the life of the mother or severe health consequences are at risk.
Congresswoman, your party has moved way to the left on that issue. We really appreciate your joining us here tonight, and we hope to see you back here soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Laura.